Through Paul Finebaum show on a Thursday, rocking and rolling. Peter Burns in for Mr. Paul Finebaum. You can follow me on Twitter at Peter Burns ESPN. I've already upset the Snowflake Notre Dame fans, the Snowflake Michigan fans. Well, I always upset them. They get that fan base. Talk about weak. My goodness. I thought Florida State fans were kind of weak, but Michigan fans are they're still upset. They're still upset that I call out the Michigan Wolverines and their Kardashian coach and Jim Harbaugh, and they're upset in the fact that I bring up that they haven't won a undisputed national championship since before the Korean War, yet they get all in a tizzy. Like Florida State fans used to be the worst on Twitter. Mm-hmm. They were just ridiculous. Michigan fans are even weaker now.
I'm so glad.
It's impressive how weak they are.
I'm so glad you brought that up because I think you have a glimpse now into why coming from Big Ten country to SEC country,
right,
where I didn't really understand conference teams rooting for one another when they're not playing. Because I was dealing with Michigan fans and Ohio State fans.
Right.
And I just never, on any Saturday, did I look at the Michigan Wolverines and say, you know what, I do want them to go ahead.
Yeah, I would like to pull for them, right?
Yeah, like this would be good for the Big Ten. No, you never want Michigan.
Like I respect Ohio State, right? Yeah. Listen, I have to respect them. They came in there. They beat Alabama. They won a national championship.
Yep.
I mean, basically, Urban Meyer took everything that he learned here in the SEC, and he's playing SEC football in a laughable Big Ten. That's just, I mean, that's the case. That's
I respect Ohio State, too.
I respect that because basically we have an SEC interloper in there teaching them how to play football. I get it. That's fine. But the Michigan fans, they get all butthurt. They get all snowflaked out because I bring up the fact that they haven't won an undisputed national championship since the late 40s.
And this is the
they
biggest,
get all, leave our coach alone. He's the best X and O coach. Get out. Come on.
And they have a built-in excuse. The problem is they have a built-in excuse for 2017. Oh, we were expected to finish third in the Big Ten East again because next year is our year.
Next year's our year.
Strap up. You're going to deal with it for another 365 days at least.
855-242-PAUL. Get comfortable. 855-242-PAUL. Dominic in Albany, New York. What's happening, Dominic?
Hey, how you guys doing?
Doing good, man. How you doing, sir?
Good. I hear a lot of talk. I've coached for years at the high school level, semi-pro level, so I know the game inside and out. And I had a tryout with the Giants and Patriots a while back in '87, but
awesome.
I follow Florida State very, very, very closely because I think Jimbo Fisher is probably one of the best coaches I've seen around in a long time. I wanted your guys' opinion on what you think is going to happen in this monster matchup in the beginning of the season with them in Alabama. Who do you think has the edge? Where do you think this game's going to go?
I'll be honest with you, Dominic. I've looked at all these matchups, and I make no bones about it. I love the SEC. I mean, I just followed it, and so I traditionally am going to lean one way. I actually could keep continuing to, as much as I look at this game and as much as I appreciate everything that Alabama does, I tend to continue to lean towards Florida State. I think that this was a game that Alabama had week 4, week 5, week 6 of the season where you got a couple of games underneath their belt. Listen, hard to pick against Alabama, but this is a perfect storm against Alabama in a very young secondary, a team that lost so much to the NFL draft again. And granted, traditionally, that doesn't mean anything, right? Traditionally, hey, you just reload, boom. It's like NCAA football. Just put up the next 5-star, wash, rinse, repeat. You're going to just whip somebody's butt. But DeAndre Francois, what he showed me in the second half of the opener last year and how he progressed, he was not afraid. You see, that's the thing about beating Alabama, is that you have to not be afraid. I don't think Chad Kelly was ever afraid. It's like going up to a golf course, you're thinking, oh, my God, this is the hardest golf course. I'm going to shoot 100. Well, guess what? You're probably going to shoot 100. But there's certain guys like Jordan Spieth get up there and go, I want to shoot 62 today. And I think that that's the mindset that DeAndre Francois has. And Jimbo Fisher knows Nick Saban arguably as good as anybody, probably even better than Dabo Swinney knew him.
Absolutely.
And for me,
I think,
Florida State has the advantage to me right now.
Could give them some trouble.
That's the big question. And I think it comes down to quarterback play. Dominic, thank you for the phone call because it brings up an interesting point. I'm going to bring Kevin Skarbinski in from AL.com on it. Kevin, I worry about Alabama in the opener because of a young Alabama defense and, more importantly, quality quarterback play that we saw from DeAndre Francois. Talk me off of that ledge right here, right now, as we're talking football on July the 27th.
Well, Peter, you lost me at worry about Alabama.
I understand.
I guess I've seen too many of these openers against allegedly quality opponents, and I've seen what Alabama has done to those allegedly quality opponents through the years. Now, I think, having said that, I think Florida State is the best team Alabama will have opened with, the best non-conference regular season team they will have played during the Nick Saban era. So I think this is a bit of a different animal they're about to face in that first game in Mercedes-Benz Stadium. But when you suggest, and certainly it's a logical way to go, to say, look at all the players Alabama lost off of that defense. Look at how many NFL draft picks they lost off of that defense. Great players like Reuben Foster and Jonathan Allen, and the list goes on. And you say, well, how can they replace those guys? And it's probably true that they won't be as good in that first game on defense as they will be in October or November, because those guys will develop. But you will see guys, and you will hear names you may not have ever heard before, like Christian Miller, who will be quality players on that defense. They just haven't had their turn yet. And typically on Alabama, those guys are ready when their turn comes.
There's no doubt. B-Stone here is on Twitter, says, young secondary with 3 all-conference returners. Come on, Burns. What I meant was young defense. I mean, right. That probably is the strength of Alabama. And, of course, when you have Nick Saban, who's a former secondaries coach, there's one position group you traditionally feel pretty good about. I mean, everyone talks about LSU and Florida being DBU. There's a lot of Alabama people that say, hey, hold up, the Tide are there. How do you see Brian Daboll in this offense clicking? I mean, when I had Nick Saban on earlier this week, or yesterday rather, he said we didn't do a good enough job giving Jalen Hurts. We were risk adverse. Like we just kind of kept him in a box. I don't see Brian Daboll being that much more adventurous than Lane Kiffin. I just don't see it. So what does he mean by that?
Well, they had the luxury, and this goes back to the defense of a year ago, of nursing Jalen Hurts as a true freshman quarterback, of not asking him to do things that were outside of his comfort zone, and not pushing him, for example, in the passing game, and not giving him too much to do too soon, because they were so good on defense, because they could do other things on offense, and they could let Jalen Hurts grow into the job slowly, which sounds funny considering they started a true freshman at quarterback, but they didn't overload him with what they asked him to do. Now this year, I think because of that young defense by their standards, they may have to outscore some people early, maybe as early as that first game against Florida State. And so I think you will see them perhaps do more things, ask Jalen Hurts to do more things. He's got playmakers galore. He's got them behind him. He's got them on the outside. And maybe this is what will be fun to watch. Lane Kiffin was known for finding that one stud playmaker and riding that guy, whether it was Derrick Henry, who won the Heisman and set all kinds of records as a running back, or Amari Cooper, who set all kinds of records at Alabama as a wide receiver. He found that one guy and really fed him the rock. They've got so many guys this year, so many different running backs that can carry the ball, so many different receivers they can throw the ball to, and it appears if he makes the logical progression that they expect, that Jalen Hurts will be able to get the ball to those guys.
I think one of the things Lane was brilliant about as well, too, is having I've got a play or a player. I've got my key guy, right? But I've got a guy, a break in case of an emergency guy that I can use and dial up anytime I need it, and he had that with O.J. Howard. I don't think there was a doubt. I mean, it was always a running joke around me and LSU fans just to be like, well, I mean, you never know. You know that Alabama's in good shape if they haven't even used O.J. Howard yet, because that was when they're like, okay, well, we kind of need that. When O.J. Howard got used, it was a close game. Let's switch gears to Auburn. I've been talking about it. I feel confident in what I think Auburn can do with Chip Lindsey and Jarrett Stidham, even going on the road to the Fake Death Valley in Clemson week 2. What is you're closer to that than I am right now. What do you see boots on the ground with the Auburn Tigers early in this season?
I was struck, Peter, at Media Days, and even a couple of weeks later, it still stands out to me that Gus Malzahn was so confident in this team and was so openly confident in this team going into a season that some people have labeled a hot seat season. I think it's unfair to put that label on him right now. I think that will all develop as the season goes on. But he basically left himself no excuses. He basically told the world that they've got what it takes to compete for a championship.
And Kevin, that's very unlike Gus, right? I always say every time I hang out with Gus, it seems like there's like a sniper like looking after us because he's always kind of like, kind of covers over, and he's a great guy. I love him to death, but he's kind of just seems a little worried. Even when I catch him in the offseason, like, what's going on? For him to have that confidence, it had to mean something was cooking.
Well, to me, it says he really believes in this team because he knows, look, he had that great first year in 2013, and even though the last 3 years did not end up anywhere near where they expected them to, where Auburn fans expected them to, I love to throw this stat out there. 3 of his 4 years, they've been in championship contention on November 1st. Now, 2 of those years they didn't finish very strong. 3 of his 4 years they haven't finished very strong. So that's something that's got to change, and it's not just in the Alabama game. That Georgia game has got to change from an Auburn perspective. But for him to stand up there, as I said, and tell the world basically that he believes they have everything they need to compete for a championship. He used the words quarterback depth, which clearly hurt them last year when Shaun White got hurt. They had no answer there against Georgia and Alabama. So he thinks that's listening to him, they've got 2 guys that can win at quarterback in the SEC, in Jarrett Stidham and Shaun White, although he may have more confidence in Shaun White than a lot of his fan base does. And that's no knock on Shaun White. That's just based on observation. So for him to say that tells me he truly believes on both sides of the ball, despite what they lost on defense in Carl Lawson and Montravius Adams, that he believes that they've got the talent to get it done. And that means, hey, you better go get it done because now you've raised the expectations of your own fan base.
And I love Shaun White, and I think every Auburn Tiger fan should love him, and I know the Auburn Tiger players love him for what he's provided to that team, and I think that's the best thing to happen to Jarrett Stidham is that he's got Shaun White. I mean, I remember Shaun White, if I'm not mistaken, sent a tweet out before media days saying, hey, there's still a quarterback competition going on. It's not just Jarrett Stidham. I don't believe that to be the case. I think Stidham obviously is the guy, but the fact that there's somebody pushing him as I think the best situation in Shaun White, whether or not he plays a down, I think he is going to be a very important player in the development of Stidham and this Auburn Tigers team. Kevin Skarbinski, AL.com. I always enjoy the fire in your columns. I appreciate the time. We'll talk to you soon, all right?
Thanks, Peter. Have a great day.
Kevin Skarbinski, AL.com. 855-242-PAUL. Full phone lines. You're going to hit me up on Twitter and yell at me there. I don't block anybody. I'm not a snowflake. Don't get that. At Peter Burns, ESPN. It's Peter Burns in for Paul Finebaum. News, if you're headed to Mexico anytime soon, I guess the State Department has said, be careful. Don't travel down there and drink the alcohol. So you can't drink the water and can't drink the alcohol. It's no fun.
So don't go to Mexico.
Nah, I like Mexico. Great beaches, great food.
I can't answer that.
Nah, I don't know. Nick Saban's going to be down there anytime soon. He's preparing for Florida State. Going to be a hell of a game, arguably the greatest opening game we've ever seen. Quite possibly the first time, I believe it would be a 1-2. I think the polls come out here in a couple of weeks. We'll find out if that's going to be the case.
Can I have my conspiracy theory moment?
It's
right
your
now?
birthday. You can do whatever you want, John Hayes. I prefer you put on pants, but that's a different story.
Florida State and Alabama will be number 1 and number 2, and the AP will conspire with people who run certain things to make sure it's the first and the greatest.
Oh, no doubt. I mean, if you put 1-3, who the hell cares, right? Or 1-2. They're going to play each other. They're going to figure it out.
And the way the AP works is you've got writers all across the country who do their top 25, and then the rankings come from that. But it's going to be 1 and 2 because the Chick-fil-A Peach Bowl wants it to be 1 and 2.
And you know what? And rightfully so, because you got 2 big boys of college football, teams that have skins on the wall. Florida State's won national titles. Alabama's won national titles. You arguably have 2 of the best head coaches in all of college football. It deserves to be 1-2.
Does Florida State deserve to be number 2 in the country? That's a serious question.
I might even say Florida State deserves to be number 1 in the country and Alabama be number 2. I don't think it'll play that way. I still lean towards Florida State in this game. I love Alabama. I still think that they win the SEC. I think they still play the college football playoff. But the concern that I have for Alabama is a young defense going up against DeAndre Francois early in the season, first game of the year. That's what I have. And I haven't really seen a whole lot of fear out of DeAndre Francois in the small, remind you, a small sample size that I've seen. Florida State's pretty much an honorary SEC team. They could win at least 8-9 games in this conference.
Or is Alabama an honorary ACC team?
Haleyville, Alabama. Stan, what's happening? Welcome in. Peter Burns sitting in for Paul Finebaum.
How are you doing today, Peter?
I'm doing good, sir. How's your summer going?
Oh, going great. I just had a quick question for you. Do you think, I'm a huge Auburn fan, do you think Gus has to be able to win over Georgia or Alabama at least one to stay? Because he'd be 1-4 against both of them. Do you think he's out? And then another question is, do you think it's possible that Chad Marston could be the next coach at Ole Miss?
Stan, it's a very good question. I talked to some people that I respect in the industry about where does Ole Miss go? And Chad Morris over at SMU, obviously that team, he's trying to rebuild it. That is a name that has popped up before. I think it's so premature to even begin to think of what Ole Miss is going to do because you don't know who's going to be in play until probably another 8 weeks or so after the NCAA hearing. So once there's the NCAA hearing on what exactly transpires with the future of Ole Miss is going to be. Because, listen, that job changes immensely if there's a 2-year bowl ban. If there is indeed a 2-year bowl ban and young guys, including Shea Patterson, which I don't believe would transfer but had the right to, that job looks at a whole lot differently if that's the case. Regarding Gus, it's a big year for Gus. It's a big year for Gus. We just heard from Kevin Skarbinski at AL.com. He's talking about this is as confident as I've seen Gus. And Gus is a confident person. Don't misconstrue what I have to say here about Gus. But a lot of times he's just kind of, well, I don't, I'm looking forward to it. Yeah, we're going to be pretty good. He's not a bravado guy. Never really has been. But he's won. And when he went to SEC Media Days, there was a different pep in his step, much like Jim McElwain. But Jim McElwain's more like that. But I believe Jim McElwain had that because he knew he had Malik Zaire. Hey, I got better at the quarterback position. This is a good thing. Same thing with Gus Malzahn. I love Sean White. Sean White's great. He's a warrior. He's everything we need, but we need a little bit more. And he got Jarrett Stidham, and that's why he's happy about it. As far as his job, I don't see that being the case. I think they have enough talent. Now, if they only win 7 games, that's a whole different story. But Auburn's not just going to win 7 games this year. Birmingham, Alabama. Don, what's happening?
Hey, how you doing, Peter?
Good, Don. How are you?
Doing well. Greetings from Big Ten country. I'm driving right now across the center of Nebraska and went by the big Memorial Stadium that the Huskers play in, and that was one of the things I wanted to talk to you about is, let me say this first up. I'm a big proponent of the home and home games, and I've kind of regret that that's not going on much anymore. I think you guys have addressed it some. I've heard it on local shows there in Birmingham and spoken to them about it. I was one of the fortunate ones that got to go to the Alabama-Penn State game a few years ago. And it's not that I don't like these other games. I actually have tickets to this Florida State game, but my son and I are trying to sell them for a little bit of profit to finance some other trips, which is one of the trips we want to do is to A&M. And I just would like to see, I'd enjoy coming up here and see Nebraska play Alabama again, South Bend, Auburn's getting to do that. Georgia's doing that with Notre Dame.
Mm-hmm.
And I know Saban is popular enough, obviously, and these bigger teams like Southern Cal, Clemson, Florida State, whoever, to be in these neutral site games. I went to the game in Michigan, at Jerry World.
Right, in Dallas. Yep.
And I just wondered what you thought about some of that.
Well,
and I want to make an appeal. Go ahead.
No, go ahead. What's your final question?
Well, the other thing I want to put in a little bit of appeal for a couple of our big hitters with Alabama, Bobby from Birmingham, to call in to counteract some of this crazy stuff from Coach. Not that I don't respect Coach. I like LSU. I think they're a good team. They challenge Alabama. Bama hater obviously has some chip on his shoulder from Jay Barker going in there and whooping that Fanny 25 years ago or whatever it was. But a lot of talk there.
I'll see, Don. Thank you for the phone call. I will see if we can get a couple of those guys on. The problem is we got full phone lines. Everybody wants to talk about it. Regarding the reason why we don't see more home and homes is it's what Wu-Tang said. Cream, cash rules everything around me. Get the dollar bills, y'all. Right now, Florida State and Alabama are going to have a neutral site game. Guess what? They get to take home. One team gets to take home a win and a trash bag full of $5 million in a payout. The loser gets still $5 million in a payout. If that was a home game, Hayes, what's the number? $2.3 million or so?
For Florida State, they average about $2.5 million per home game.
Right. So, I mean, you're doubling up the amount of money that neutral site games give to you, and both teams get it as opposed to one team getting it and you're having to pay the other squad. I mean, it's just pure economics.
It reminds me of boxing, quite frankly.
No doubt.
You've got fighters going to meet in Las Vegas. They're getting paid win or loss, and they're going home.
Yeah.
That's what these neutral site college football games are. Both programs make $5 million. Obviously, the wins and losses matter, but you're going home with a fat paycheck.
There's zero doubt about it, and that's the reason why I'd like to see more home and homes. You just cannot pass up the finances of it. I'm not saying it's right or wrong. And plus, never underestimate, too, LSU likes to go to Houston to play. They like to go to Dallas. Same thing with Alabama. You know why? Because it's an absolute target-rich place for recruits. And if you go up there and you're a 17-year-old kid and Nick Saban is going to be there on the sideline, or you have Ed Ogeron, or you have Gus Malzahn and playing in these games, and you're like, wow, I just saw Auburn beat the ever-living heck out of this team. Or I just saw Alabama kill Florida State. I want to come play for them. Life is all about recruiting in the SEC. 855-242-PAUL. John, Ben, Rick, and Jonathan. Your phone call is coming up next. Peter Burns in for Paul Finebaum.
Okay, keep your eyes closed.
Okay.
I want to show you my first ever painting.
All right.
Okay. Open your eyes.
Oh, that's a lot of colors and shapes.
So be honest. What do you think?
Well, I like how if you switch to Geico, you could save hundreds of dollars on car insurance.
Oh, yeah, that's true.
Yeah. Here, why don't I hold your paintbrush while you call them?
Geico, because saving 15% or more on car insurance is always a great answer.
So my show today, Peter Burns sitting in for Mr. Paul Finebaum, part of the Campus Conversation. Week continues. Make sure you download it. If you don't have the old Championship Drive podcast, it has turned into Campus Conversation. We got about anywhere between 5 to 10 voices of college football. Ivan Maisel, Heather Dinich, myself, Matt Schick. We're all going to be doing Campus Conversations this year. So if you like the show today, make sure you go download or just subscribe, really, to the podcast on ESPN Audio and the ESPN app. You can check it out all throughout the season. We'll be doing a daily podcast really starting August 26th. It won't just be SEC football. It'll be everything around. So if you want to get your daily download on college football from the best in the biz, it's Campus Conversation. I'll be a part of it. 855-242-PAUL is the phone number. Detroit, Alabama. Jonathan, you've been patiently waiting over an hour and a half, so I had to take your call next. What's happening, man?
Oh, man. Yeah, I've been patiently waiting. I was going to ask you, my opinion, us allowed Lane Kiffin to leave when he did, cost us the national championship. Do you feel the same way?
Damn sure no, it didn't help. And I could argue easily in a court of public opinion that, yes, Lane Kiffin did. But at the same time, that was also Nick Saban's gamble, right? Nick Saban's gamble of taking Lane Kiffin in was you're going to get an amazing offense. You're going to put up some major numbers. But at the same time, Jonathan, it may come up and bite you at the worst possible time. And guess what? It bit him at the worst possible time. Now, that's both on Saban for taking the risk, but at the end of the day, you have to be a grown adult, and that's not what Lane Kiffin acted like the last part of last year. And trust me, Dabo Swinney should thank his stars every single day. So should Deshaun Watson. So should that the Clemson Tigers fan base that Lane Kiffin acted the way he did that week.
Well, I'm not a Kiffin fan. I mean, but you can't just dispute what he done. I mean, because Jalen Hurts really seemed to thrive and learn under him. I mean, he seemed like he's very comfortable listening to him. Seemed like there was a chemistry there. And then they bring in Steve Sarkisian, or how you pronounce his name.
Sarkisian, yes.
Yeah, Sarkisian. it just, to me, it was just an awful mistake. But I agree with you. That was Nick Saban's call. I mean, you're the head coach. You take the good with the bad,
There it is. And that's why also Nick Saban gets paid a lot of money, Jonathan, to make those decisions. And he's got a Mercedes-Benz dealership. He'll be okay. He'll sleep. Actually, he won't sleep well at night because he'll always be thinking about that. I don't know. Going back, I should have asked this question to Nick Saban yesterday. I'm an idiot for not doing it, but I'm an idiot for many things, as you know. Follow me on Twitter at Peter Burns ESPN. I spew it all the time. I should have asked him, does he regret hiring Lane Kiffin? I don't think he does. I don't think he would tell me that he does on air because I think that he did great things. I think it was one of the best hires in college football in the last decade because it gave something. And it taught me a lot about Nick Saban. I always thought it was going to be Saban's way or the highway. That wasn't the case. But then again, you invite a snake in your bed, don't be surprised when you get bit. And that's exactly what happened. Denham Springs, Louisiana. Jeff, thanks for joining Peter Burns in for the Paul Finebaum.
What up, man? What up? This is my first time getting through to you, man. I wish I could talk to Paul, but you'll do, Peter.
Hey, listen, everybody needs a backup guy. I'm everybody's fallback guy. It's all right.
Yeah, man, I'm doing fine. Look, man, I live down here with these swamp rats, man, And, man, they think they got all that milk and cookies this year. That water boy coach they got, he ain't going to do nothing. Bama's going to dominate them again. Bama's going to dominate Florida State. I think you're wrong about that. I just listened to your last caller about getting rid of Kiffin. It wasn't Kiffin. It wasn't Saban. It was all Watson of Clemson. Deshaun Watson, you could not stop that man. Very talented player. He will do big things in the NFL.
Hard not to pull for him. And you know what was amazing, too? And I know it's been said, and just in case you didn't know, Deshaun Watson, they talked about it in the national championship game. Not only am I impressed, Jeff, a great point about Deshaun Watson, how well he played, but just a young man himself, I thought, carried himself well. But going back before that, before Deshaun Watson, I don't know if any of this is possible without Warrick Dunn. And I don't know if you've heard this story, but Warrick Dunn has always had a part of a foundation where Warrick Dunn builds families, kind of like a Habitat for Humanity. And I believe he's built over 150 homes. Think about that. Warrick Dunn has built over 150 homes for families in need, and Deshaun Watson was one of those families. Warrick Dunn does not get the credit he rightfully deserves. We don't celebrate the great stories, and we should celebrate that.
That's exactly right. That's exactly right. But LSU, getting back to a Waterboy coach, Ogeron, I don't see him. And Coach, old boy who called in early, Coach.
Yep, Coach from Nashville.
Who won't never shut up. Coach needs to lay off the coffee, man, and the monster drinks. I mean, I don't know where they're getting about all this just because they got some off Matt Canada. Who's Matt Canada, man? I mean, who is he? I mean, he hasn't proven that much in college football to me.
We're about to see, and I think the thing is, Jeff, the last couple of years, LSU has tried to out-Bama Bama. You can't do that. If you think that you're going to out-Bama Bama, you just guess what? That's why you haven't won a game since 2011. That's why LSU fans said enough is enough with Les Miles. And I think they were disappointed with the game plan coming into the Bama game this year. I think everything was, hey, we're going to be loose. We're going to do everything against Les Miles, and all of a sudden it was Bama week. You're like, okay, well, we can't lose the game, so let's not do this. You have to. I mean, to play. Think of the teams that have beaten Alabama over the last couple of years. You have teams that just have that YOLO lifestyle. Johnny Manziel, going back there with Texas A&M. Deshaun Watson. There was no fear in Deshaun Watson. There was no fear in Johnny Manziel. There sure as hell wasn't any fear with Chad Kelly in those victories. You have to have somebody that's not afraid of Alabama, and that's not an easy thing to do. DeAndre Francois, I don't believe, is afraid of Alabama. That's why Florida State, Alabama to start the season is going to be incredible. Let's head to Cincinnati, Ohio. John, thanks for joining Peter Burns in for Paul Finebaum. What's up?
Hey, Peter, how are you today?
I'm doing well, sir.
Good. Couple of comments. Well, first of all, I missed having to listen to I-Man somehow, luckily, this afternoon, so I don't have to listen to him pontificate about his Saban envy when he spends about 90% of his time talking about Alabama and about 5% talking about his team and the other 5% just rambling. But here's my question on the game with Florida State and Alabama. You know, I watched that Florida State-Michigan game at the end in the bowl game last year, knowing that Alabama was going to play them.
I love it. You were already scouting. You're already scouting on last year's team. I love that.
Well, you had to look at this game, and mostly to see DeAndre Francois and see what he looked like. And I'd seen him off and on. I was underimpressed, underwhelmed. He's an excellent athlete. He can hit the long open pass, but I thought a lot of his passes were terribly off the mark. And I think it's going to be a real competition to see which quarterback, has matured more in the 9 months from the end of December, early January till the beginning of the season.
I think the biggest question, too, is wide receivers. I think for DeAndre Francois, I think if you're going to go look at the wide receiver matchups between Alabama and Florida State, there's no doubt you're going to give the credit to Alabama. I mean, they lose, I think it was a kid, Travis Rudolph. I mean, I think they lose their top, 4 targets. So that's something that will be interesting. And now you don't have a Dalvin Cook. Dalvin Cook was a game changer, not only for what he did running the rock, but could catch the ball out of the backfield. And you got a running back that can catch the rock out of the backfield. That's a game changer as well.
Well, that's an excellent point. And two other quick things is I think with Dabo or DeBow, whatever the offensive coordinator run the ball, they're going to go back to a little bit more conservative offense, where they try and take some time off the clock so that young defense isn't on the field as much as their other one was. And then just out of curiosity, when they hire assistant coaches, is there any way in contracts to tell these guys, okay, you leave fine, but you can't leave if your team's in the championship hunt? And let's face it, going to Florida Atlantic or wherever Lane went, you're not talking about going to a team that's going to be in the national title hunt. Mm-hmm. So if he doesn't get started an extra week or two after that, it's not the end of the world. And I don't know if this is something they can ever throw in contracts or not.
Well, John, I think it's something. Thank you for the phone call. I believe it's something where it's a case-by-case basis. Either, hey, listen, thanks, we appreciate the time and everything you've done for it. Good luck in your future endeavors if they don't need him. But if they need him, they want him to stick around. A lot of times the new school will want that coach to stick around because guess what? They get free publicity. FAU got a lot of publicity that week had Lane Kiffin stayed on the team because they would have said, hey, there's Lane Kiffin, offensive coordinator. Remember, he's going to FAU. You can't pass up free advertising. That's why a lot of those coaches go ahead and do it, because Lane Kiffin or whoever the coach is in question can go into a recruit and says, you saw me last week? Yeah, I was coaching in the national championship game. Now I'm going to show you how to get to the NFL. That's a recruiting pitch for him. More of your phone calls coming up next, 855-242-PAUL. You can hit me up on Twitter at Peter Burns ESPN. It's Peter Burns in for Paul Finebaum. It is a great day to be alive and be talking about college football in late July. Hell, every day is a great day to be alive. Call somebody you love today. Tell them you love them. Why not?
I can't answer that.
855-242-PAUL. That is 855-242-7285. It's Peter Burns sitting in all week long for Mr. Paul Finebaum. You guys have been great on the callers, so let's continue to roll. Newport Richey, Florida. Rick, what's happening?
Hey, Peter Burns. How you doing, brother?
I'm doing well, man. Great day to be alive, sir.
Hey, yes, sir, man. Hey, a couple little nuggets, and then I want to talk about the Gators 1 second.
Okay.
Lane Kiffin is a putz, for real. But one thing he did that people overlook, he always found a way to put the fastest guy on his offense on the slowest guy on the defense and get him open and burn him for a touchdown. That's number one.
He's a Rain Man when it comes to offensive genius. I will put it that way. Absolutely.
Keep this in mind. If Urban Meyer wouldn't have got sick and traveled the country to spend time with his family, Deshaun Watson was planning on being a Florida Gator. So Dabo can thank Urban and his headaches and traveling the country and all that for Deshaun dropping in his lap. And then how about Jim McElwain down here in Florida now, starting to pick up steam on the recruiting trail and starting to build something down here in Gainesville to bring the Gators back where they need to be. He's done an outstanding job. He's the right man for the job, and he's got a cross between Clemson and Alabama going there in Florida, and he's starting to get that speed like Meyer had and Spurrier had when he had Hilliard and Anthony and Kwesi. and those guys. And McElwain's really building something special there in Gainesville. And I wanted to get your thoughts on that. And by the way, you and Ryan McGee need to have your own show, brother. Outstanding, both of you.
I appreciate that, Rick. Thank you. Ryan McGee is going to be joining me tomorrow here on the show. He'll be part of the Campus Conversation. If you like what we do, which I appreciate that, you can make sure you download that podcast. It's called Campus Conversation. It's really the old college championship drive that we used to do, and now we're just changing the name of it, so go ahead and subscribe to that. Me and Ryan will have some fun. As far as for Florida, I saw it firsthand when I was in Denver, and I covered Jim McElwain. He was over at Fort Collins. Tough place to recruit. I mean, my gosh, I absolutely love Colorado. I don't necessarily love Fort Collins. Smells like cow farts. It's in the middle of nowhere. I mean, it's just, if you get kids out there to play, they're out there because of coach, and that's it. In his third year, Colorado State went 10-2. Should have gone 11-1. Should have been a spoiler alert. And he did that by getting playmakers in, and he did that at Alabama beforehand. And now in his third year, looking to go back to back to back, Tom Amansky in the SEC East is nothing short of fantastic, and I think that he can do it. He got there last 2 years, obviously with a weak SEC East, but at the same point, he also had duct tape and baling wire at the quarterback position. Will Grier goes down, or no longer on the team because of his transgressions. And then all of a sudden, you got to figure out what in the world do you have at quarterback. And they didn't have much, and they were able to get by last year barely because of the defense that Will Muschamp left them. I think he's happy that he got Malik Zaire on this offense, and I think, true, I think that's one of the reasons why that they are going to beat Michigan. I don't think there's a doubt. I think Antonio Callaway, that whole squad, they're ready to go. And I think this team turned when they beat LSU. I think that was huge. Because there were a lot of people saying, oh, Florida had ducked LSU. We're going to talk to Ross Dellinger, the advocate here from Baton Rouge, momentarily, here coming about 5-10 minutes, because I want to talk about that. But all of a sudden, there was a different swagger about Florida football. And that's something that they want to see that carries over into this offense and that they're excited about this upcoming season. I think so. I think Michigan has an extremely young team, and I think Jim McElwain sits on his porch every single day, and he's a happy camper about it. 855-242-PAUL is the number. Peter Burns in for Paul Finebaum. Welcome in. Final hour of the Paul Finebaum Show. Peter Burns sitting in all week with you. 855-242-PAUL, 855-242-7285. You can hit me up on Twitter. Your phone calls have been great all week long. You can hit me up on Twitter at Peter Burns ESPN. The tweets have been as well. Been talking a lot about Ole Miss, what's going on with the Houston Nutt lawsuit. We're talking about Bama and Florida State. We get closer and closer. I've said many times on the show throughout today. Confident about Auburn beating Clemson. Like that. I like Florida beating Michigan. I absolutely love Georgia embarrassing Notre Dame. I think that how that odds makers right now believe that Notre Dame is even close to a pick'em or a favorite in that game blows my mind. That's a 2-touchdown game for the Bulldogs. Talking about all those games. One I haven't talked about is LSU BYU. Ross Dellinger, of the Advocate and the worst pool player I've ever met, joins us now. You knew I was going to tell you that, right, Ross? I'm sorry. It had to do it.
I heard you had a slip of a tongue there, too. I'm bad at poker as well.
Oh, well, that means I'll invite you to the next poker game that we have. Although I am worried about anybody who says that I'm not a good golfer or not a good poker player, because that normally means that they want to gamble and then they take all my money. So I see you working here, Ross. You're a smart man.
Yes.
What is the storylines down in Baton Rouge? I don't know what the hell to think of this LSU team. Every time I think, you know what, they could be pretty good, I think, you know what, I don't know if Danny Etling can take the next spot. And then I think, well, Dave Aranda's there and Matt Canada's there. They're going to be awfully good. Where do we stand with this LSU team right here in late July?
Well, that's certainly one of the storylines is Danny Etling, and can he kind of be a difference maker, at quarterback? We only saw that, we saw that a little last year. We saw it again in the bowl game against Louisville. LSU kind of did what it wanted in that game, but Danny really lit it up. But we didn't see that a ton. So can he kind of be that difference maker guy? We know that he's a smart kid, and he knows the offense well, and he's learned the offense over the off season. He stays out of trouble and all that, and I mean, he's a fifth-year senior. He's so experienced, real veteran guy. But can he kind of be that difference maker with his arm? And so that's a storyline. Certainly, the drama kind of surrounding Arden Key is his leave of absence, and then his shoulder surgery, which he's still recovering from, and he won't start fall camp next week. He's a huge piece to what LSU wants to do defensively on a team that lost 7 starters.
Right.
You kind of need a guy like Arden Key,
You need Arden Key, especially you need him because when I look at the LSU schedule, it really doesn't ramp up until you start talking about Florida. Am I correct in understanding that as far as where the level of worry is? Of course, I mean, listen, a lot of people thought they were going to be Wisconsin up in Lambeau, and that turned out a different way last year. But they feel like they could probably get by the first couple of weeks. It's not really until the Florida game where all of a sudden the pedal has to hit the metal.
Yeah, when you're talking, Peter, about just athletes and talent, you probably skip ahead the first 5 games and you look at Florida because when you look at those first 5 games, now Mississippi State, of course, in the SEC's got talent. BYU, I mean, they open up at BYU, they're always a consistent team, but stacking up the talent on those 2 teams with the talent at LSU, I mean, the Tigers have pulled in top 5 recruiting classes, I think, the last 4 years. So when you look at where the teams as far as how they stack up with talent, especially skilled players, you got to go to Florida, and that's I believe that's Game 6, and it's down there in Gainesville. And so and I was on another radio show earlier today. We were talking about Arden Key. If Arden is ready and healthy to go, Game 3 or Game 2 or Game 4. Do you just kind of say, but let's just make sure he's good, and let's wait until Game 6 when we really need him at Florida, and maybe that's what happens.
What's the expectation for Ed Orgeron in his first full season as head coach? I mean, over and under 8.5 wins. What's the expectation level from LSU fans? Not the crazy diehards that, hey, listen, we're going 14-0. This is going to be the greatest team ever in the history of LSU football. What does the knowledgeable fan think about this season?
Well, yeah, you got to break it down a little bit. Losing 3 first-round draft picks, especially 2 of them on defense, and losing another 5 starters on defense. You do have Dave Aranda, and you might have Arden Key eventually, but the expectations that every year seem to be 10, 11 wins here. I think this year the feeling is more like 8 to 9. You just kind of get that feeling from the fans who are kind of realistic, as you're talking about. You get kind of an 8 or 9 feel from them. I think when you just look at everybody they've lost, and you look again at the quarterback position and not knowing a ton about LSU's new offense, first of all, and also not knowing if Danny can be that big difference maker passer. I think 9. I think if LSU ends the regular season at 9-3, I think there's a lot of people in Baton Rouge that say that's pretty solid for Ed's first year.
And that's crazy because I think the expectation level over the last couple of years has been, hey, it should always be a 10-win season. There's no reason why they shouldn't win 10, but they feel like now going on the road to Gainesville, at Bryant-Denny Stadium against Alabama in early November, that's a different thing. We see, last question for you, Ross Dellinger of The Advocate, late October, are we talking about Darius Geis as a Heisman Trophy candidate?
If we're not, then Darius has gotten hurt, I would imagine. Because I would be real surprised if November 8th or 12th or 15th rolls around and Darius is not in the discussion for the Heisman Trophy. And I think if he's not, something unfortunate has befell him because he's super talented. And as Ed Orgeron has said multiple times this offseason, he's kind of the perfect type back that you want in this spread offense that Matt Kennett is bringing in, where he's going to use Darius, he's going to motion him, shift him, use him at receiver, use him even on jet sweeps, then run him between the tackles. He's so versatile to do all of that, and it feeds perfectly into Matt Canada's offense is Darius Geis' skill set.
Much more so, I think, than Leonard Fournette was. I mean, Leonard Fournette hit Les Miles and Cam Cameron's offense to a T, and I think Geis is much more of the running back that you would want running that offense. Am I correct?
Oh, absolutely. And Ed's kind of said that before. Ed was real honest at the bowl game. Somebody before the Citrus Bowl game this past December, somebody asked him about the differences in Darius Geis and Leonard Fournette, and he said, you know, Leonard is best when he can get beyond the line of scrimmage. When he can get in the second, third level, that's where he's really good. Darius is kind of the opposite. He's best behind the line of scrimmage in dodging tacklers and kind of making little moves. He's just more versatile, but at the same time, he's really strong. So I would say that you're dead on there.
Ross Ellinger, I look forward to seeing you at next year's media days. Work on your pool game, and we'll break out the cards for a poker game as well. All right?
Yeah, I have to lay off the booze before I play you. That's really what happened.
No. I would say drink more. Drink more, my friend. Be safe, and we'll talk to you soon. Ross Ellinger of The Advocate, our guest. All right, 855-242. Paul, let's get in a quick phone call here before the break. Dayton, Ohio. Byron, what's happening?
Hello, Peter. One thing I'd like to tell you is I always enjoy hearing you on the radio. You do a very good show.
Thank you, sir. We have some fun. You know, worst case scenario, we're talking football in late July. That's a hell of a thing to get paid to do.
Right. Now, one thing that I haven't heard anybody attribute Bama's loss to was they quit running the ball in the second half. They had all those 3 and outs, and 1 second would have saved that game.
You know, Brian, I think I go back and look, and I mean, listen, we can go put the Zapruder tape on for Alabama Clemson. It's not going to change the fact. Right? You know, we're not hopping in a time machine. Alabama is not going to win that game by just going back here and overlooking it. I will say I was surprised that there wasn't more design runs for Jalen Hurts. I go back and look at I was there in Tiger Stadium for LSU Alabama, and I was shocked, frankly, that they didn't run Jalen Hurts more often than they did. I mean, I could tell both defenses were exhausted. It's not like Danny Etling was going to run the ball, but Jalen Hurts could. And I was surprised that there wasn't a lot more designed runs than what we saw from him. And so I think that's the big question coming up this year, and what Brian Daboll, that offensive philosophy is going to be interesting. You're going to see it week 1 against Florida State of what type offense are they going to run, because I'm getting 2 conflicting things from Nick Saban. Nick Saban came on the show here yesterday with me and said we were risk adverse for Jalen Hurts. We didn't put him up into enough, outgoing situations, basically jugular type situations. We didn't make him aggressive enough. Well, by hiring Brian Daboll, that almost signifies you're going from Lane Kiffin, who was the ultimate risk taker on and off the field, to a guy that's like, just don't lose me the game. And I call it what you want, call it game managing, call it being a little bit more conservative. I think that is a conservative offense. So I'm getting 2 conflicting reports of what the Alabama offense is going to try to be. Am I worried that Jalen Hurts can learn it? No. I think Jalen Hurts has gone over every hurdle. I'm sick and tired of Alabama fans saying, I don't like Jalen Hurts, and let's put Tua in there. Shut up. Shut up about it. There's 100, 105, maybe 110 Division I schools right now that would salivate, that the coach would do cartwheels naked in his front lawn if it meant Jalen Hurts was the starting quarterback coming up for 2017. This young man has done everything that's asked about it. And he almost won a national championship despite having Lane Kiffin acting like a fool and basically having to leave the week before the national championship game. And you're not going to give the kid the credit? Come on. Jalen Hurts is a stud, and he deserves to be treated as one. Now the question is, can he do it against Florida State to start the season? He's got the playmakers to do it. We'll see. 855-242-PAUL is the number. You can hit me up on Twitter at Peter Burns ESPN. It's Peter Burns in for Paul Finebaum. It is another day in paradise here on the Paul Finebaum Show. Peter Burns sitting in for the great one, the Mouth of the South. You can follow me on Twitter at Peter Burns ESPN. Everybody welcome John Hayes to the program, who It's your birthday. So what is the big birthday plans? We got your phone calls coming up here in just a moment, but what are your big birthday plans? Like today is your actual birthday, or is it one of these like, well, it's actually Saturday, but I celebrate
today's
today.
the birthday.
Today you were birthed 29.
The
you
whole
were born 29.
The whole birthday weekend thing,
Right.
that's something that you do for your girlfriend or your wife.
Okay. I can
Men
understand that.
don't subscribe to the birthday weekend.
Julius Caesar had like a birthday celebration for like 6 months.
Well, that's
I got no
different.
problem. Bring me my grapes.
I am not Julius Caesar. I'm just this.
You got Caesar-like hair. I will tell you this. You do. So, real quick, tell what do you have? What do you got going on?
After the show, I'm going out. I'm going to have some wings and have some beer and have a good time.
You're going to have a man's birthday.
That's right.
Okay. All right. There you go. You know who you need to have beers with? This guy right here.
I wish Larry could come.
Larry from Shelby. Larry, have you ever had a beer in your life?
I ain't stopped.
Larry, have you ever had a beer in the last 2 minutes?
Well,
don't answer that. I don't want you to incriminate yourself. How you doing, bud?
Hey, my brother, fine. Where you going, Big Ten, John? Chuck E. Cheese?
Hey, Chuck E. Cheese has great pizza.
I'm not going to lie.
Oh, yeah.
Great
Big
place to
Ten
meet
John,
single moms,
hey.
too. I'm just saying, Hayes. Go ahead.
They want to get them tickets.
I'm not going after the
Get 'em
divorcees just yet, Peter. Give me 5 years on
That's a good place. I went. Carried my son there, and there's a lot of hot chicks go to Chuck E. Cheese.
There you go.
Hey, check this out. You got to be done. Check this out, man. You talking about coaches doing cartwheels naked?
Mm-hmm.
Well, if Gus Malzahn did, you see he ain't got a pair. I'll tell you that. That's right. The way he blew that game, that championship game. He can't finish a game. Y'all all analyzing this. Come on, man. You got all the analysts you need right here, Larry and Rich from Atlanta and all of us from Big Ten. John, why you got to have guests? Just ask me something. And I'll tell you. Ask me about LSU.
Larry, what about LSU makes you excited about this team this year?
They suck. Coach Joe's out of here.
Oh, fired after the first year.
Yeah.
Okay.
He's gone.
Okay. What do you think of Jim Harbaugh at Michigan?
Harbaugh? Oh, man. He's a joke of a coach. Listen, why? Because he always runs that table on his little stinky team. And when he gets – and Francois is going to be on his butt wall because he beat Michigan when we're back to Michigan, which is a nobody team. All these Yankee doodles up there getting out there and hollering. And I love John's birthday today. I'm going to be nice to Penn State. But Ohio State got skunked at the playoffs, son.
They did get shut out.
Yeah.
They got shut out.
Oprah.
I like this college football analyst Larry. I've got some other teams I want to ask him
Here's
about.
the deal. I mean, Booger McFarland just went to ABC. We are probably hiring one more analyst.
Yeah.
I wonder if Larry for Shelby could be it.
How about USC out on the West Coast, Larry?
Yeah.
They got a good quarterback in Sam Darnold.
Listen, them hair fluffers, all they do is get out there on a surfboard and chase chicks around. And they don't play real football. When they do, they get skunked, smoked, beat up. I mean, they were a pretender last year. And Bama beat them, and then all of a sudden, because they got good toward the end of the year, oh, my God, USC, the Trojans. No, nada. You got another team?
No, Larry, we got to roll. Larry, you have a wonderful day.
All right, my brother. Roll Tide, Jack.
There you go. Larry from Shelby. We go from Larry to Shelby, from head to Jasper. We talked to our good friend Lance. Hey, Lance.
Oh, man, I agree with Larry on Michigan, man. I mean, y'all guys talk about Jim Harbaugh like he's one of the top 5 coaches in college football. He ain't even a top 5 coach in his family, man. I mean, he ain't even the best coach in his family. I'll take John. I'll take John. I mean, give me a break, man. And he wants to tell people, come on down to Michigan and we'll go to Paris. We'll come on down to Gainesville, come on down to Tuscaloosa, and we'll go to the White House. I mean, now where do you want to go as a recruit?
That's a fair point, Lance. That's a fair point. Better to go visit the White House as a champion or visit to go see the Mona Lisa whenever you're being tied for third in your own division. I like that, Lance.
Oh, man, it's straight up talking. I'll tell you right now, man, you don't like them peaches, don't shake my tree. But I got to tell you about LSU myself. I mean, this is a 7-5 football team, man. I mean, everybody wants to talk about talent. They're coming back. I mean, it's kind of like Florida. I mean, they're in worse shape. No quarterback. You want to talk about replacing their defense. I mean, give me 3 players off LSU's defense. I don't think you can, Peter Burns. And you work it, and you run SEC now.
It's
give
tough.
me 3 players off that defense.
It's tough right now. You got Christian Lockinger coming back. You got Arden Key, who won't be available for earlier in this season. And, I mean, as soon as you start talking about that, that's basically as high as you're going to get.
Yeah, man. But, hey, man, when you talk LSU, you usually talk about corners, safety. They usually got a linebacker who's a stud, and they got multiple defensive linemen. They don't have it, man.
Well, you lose. You lose guys to the draft, and that's what a lot of people thought were disappointed. I get it, man. But a lot of people were disappointed in LSU last year, Lance, because they felt they had a lot of guys coming back with Trey White, with Jamal Adams, that this was going to be a team. This was a team that could beat Alabama, and this is a team that could win the West. And guess what? They didn't do it. And now, I don't know if I think you're right. I think this is an LSU team that struggles, especially with that schedule.
Hey, man. Hey, the window's shut on LSU. You lost 5 in a row, man. It's enough of the preseason hype. It's enough of the preseason trophies. Everybody gets paper dolls in the summer, baby. But you got to play in the football in the fall, man. It don't happen in the spring, son. I mean, the door is shut. I mean, really. I mean, you want to talk about Matt Canada coming into the SEC calling plays, and you want to hear all about his offense. Man, when he gets into an SEC stadium trying to call plays, he won't even be able to catch his breath, son. It's a different atmosphere than going down to Pittsburgh. But I'm going to say Clemson's a tough place to play, but it ain't nothing like a Saturday night down south, baby. Come on down and try it out for once.
Lance, I love you, my friend. Always passionate with the calls. 855-242-PAUL. It's 855-242-7285. Hit me up on Twitter at Peter Burns ESPN. We got 2 segments to go. I'm going to go all calls here for the next 2 segments. Call your shot. Tell me something I'm writing down here on July the 27th. Me and John Hayes will have a spreadsheet. We will put these together. I want you to call your shots. That way, in December, we'll go back and review this. And we said, this person said this on July the 27th. It's 855-242-PAUL. That's 855-242-7285. Calling your shot next. Peter Burns in for Paul Finebaum.
Daddy, where do babies come from?
Honey?
Mommy went to the store.
Oh, well, you see, there's a mommy and a daddy, right?
Right.
And see, when they call Geico, they could save a bunch of money on car insurance.
Oh, really? And that makes them happy?
Yes, that makes them very happy.
That's good.
Yeah. Well, I'm glad we could have this talk, sunshine.
Geico, because saving 15% or more on car insurance is always a great answer.
Welcome back to the last Thursday before any football is played in the year. Is that correct, John Hayes?
I can't answer that.
No, you can, Nick Saban, because I believe we have the Hall of Fame game coming up next Thursday, or some type of meaningless preseason NFL ball.
This is it.
This is it.
Talk to the wife.
We made it.
Talk to the fiance. Let the girlfriend know.
Done.
Thursday nights from here on out.
Thursdays are for the boys. But the SEC football, that's the difference. Like I go around conferences, and I travel a bunch, luckily, and you can tell, that's why it's crazy here in the SEC, because it's not just like Saturdays are for the boys. It's honestly, everyone loves SEC football.
That's right.
It's not just a guy thing.
No.
So you know why? Because it just means more. We're doing rapid fire here on the Finebaum Show. Peter Burns sitting in for Finebaum. All right, rapid fire. You guys are great. Full phone lines. We'll keep re-racking these. We're going to go as quick as possible. I want you to give me the quick reason why you're calling your shot for 2017. July 27th. John Hayes, are you ready to write these down?
I've got pen in hand.
You've got pen in hand. Do you have a second pen just in case we go so fast on these and you're not ready? There you go.
I got a Sharpie.
You got a second one. You have a Sharpie. Let's start with Monterey, Tennessee. Logan, call your shot for 2017.
2017, my shot is going to be Tennessee smoking LSU at home. It would be a 21-point victory, but I say they'll put one on late. So I'm going to call it 35-21 Tennessee. And go ahead and throw this out there. Dormy will get hurt halfway through. Garantano will be the starter, the dual threat, and he will smoke them.
Yeah, and then and he plays the rest of the year. Is that what you're telling me at that point?
That's what I'm saying. And both the Wolf brothers will have a touchdown apiece in that game.
Monterey, Tennessee. Logan is in here saying Tennessee beats LSU. All right, let's go to Chicago, Illinois. Rapid fire, 855-242-PAUL. What's up, John? Call your shot for 2017.
Hey, South Carolina Gamecocks will either be 10-2 or 9-3. They will beat either Georgia or Florida because Jake Bentley is the best quarterback in the conference.
Yeah, so you're saying Vegas right now has the odds set at, I want to say 6.5. That's the over and under. John, you're calling your shot that South Carolina is either a 9 or 10 win season.
Yes. Because
Okay.
Jake Bentley is the best quarterback in the conference.
There it is. Did you write that down? You got that down?
Are we adding the Bentley?
Yeah, no, absolutely.
Best
You just said it.
quarterback.
You got to
Okay.
do it. Thanks, John, for the phone call. Let's go to Alabama. Jacob, July 27, 2017. You're calling your shot, and your shot for 2017 is?
Alabama undefeated and beating Auburn by 21 points.
21-point
21
Alabama
points.
win.
Roll, Tide, roll.
How much does Tua Tagovailoa play this season? If you're already giving me they're undefeated, they're gonna beat Auburn by 21 points in the Iron Bowl. Well, how much does Tua play?
How?
How much does he play?
Lights out, baby. Lights out. He go.
All right, Spanaway, Washington. CJ, call your shot. 2017.
2017, I'm going Alabama undefeated, but we're going to murder Ole Miss 42-6.
42-6. The pesky 2 field goals on defense without the shutout.
Oh, yes. They're going to mess around and get 2 little freaky field goals, but other than that, we have redemption against those boys, and they're not looking so good right now.
That's my favorite one so far.
So far, that may be the leader in the clubhouse. Give me a bonus because we need some tiebreakers here. The final score of Alabama-Florida State game will be what?
Oh my God. I go 28-7, Alabama.
28-7, Alabama. There it is. Washington is checked in. CJ's called his shot. Let's go to Nebraska, Norfolk. Justin, what's happening? Call your shot for 2017.
All right, I got Tanner Lee, obviously starting at quarterback for Nebraska, but 2 weeks in a row, October 7th, October 14th, Nebraska knocks off Wisconsin, and then the next week they knock off Ohio State, and they're going to sneak around, and they're going to win the Big Ten North this year. People are not giving them the benefit of the doubt. I mean, West, sorry, they're not giving the benefit of the doubt, and they're going to win they were going to step out, and they're going to win those 2 games this year, I believe.
Big Red Machine back. That's what you're saying. Red shirt defense, the whole deal. Husker Nation. Yeah, are they a college football playoff team?
They are not this year. Give them 2 more years. I promise you. No one's talking about them up here, which is great because the local media gives them too much hype. But this year, they're not. So give them a couple years, but not this year, I promise you. But in 2 years, they will be.
Both those games are in Lincoln.
There you go. Justin,
they are.
Justin
Exactly.
has called his shot. Thank you, sir. Birmingham, Alabama. Sky, call your shot.
Calling my shot. I like to consider myself a level-headed Auburn fan. The last time I predicted us to win the national championship was 2010 with Cam Newton, the quarterback. But this is my shot. We will. Auburn University. Auburn Tigers will win the national championship this year, as well as the SEC, and Jarrett Stidham will win the Heisman.
You're going Jarrett Stidham wins the Heisman. They win the Iron Bowl. They win the SEC, and Auburn wins the national championship. I'm just making sure. I'm repeating this so John Hayes is writing all these shots out, so that way we can review them.
Put it in stone, brother.
There it is. It'll be in ink for now. Go to H-Town, home of Scarface, Fat Pat, DJ Screw, all of it. Houston, Texas. Dave, talk to me. Call your shot for 2017.
I just want to add a little class to this program. I said Texas is going to shock the nation. I'd like to say hook 'em horns, and I predict Texas will beat Kansas this year. Thank you very much.
Texas beating the Jayhawks. You see, I wanted to get weird on the show today, and that's what we're talking about. All right, Dave, what makes you so confident that Tom Herman can roll in there and just take on the Kansas Jayhawks with the W? That's big talk, my friend. Unbelievable. Dave in Houston. Didn't think anybody was going to go out on a limb right now. Let's go to Gaston, Alabama. Ross, call your shot for 2017.
Alabama loses 3 games next year.
No, what kind of idiot? What kind of idiot says that Bama would lose more than 3 games?
It's going to happen. They're going to have a quarterback controversy. Watch and see. Alabama's going to lose to LSU, Florida State, and Auburn.
Okay, hold on. You say they're going to lose to LSU, Florida State, and Auburn, and you think it's because of a quarterback controversy, Ross?
Yeah, it won't take long. Starting in the first game.
Realistically, I think they could lose 2 of those 3 games.
Yeah,
that's not far-fetched.
Right, and my aunt can become my uncle if there's a proper amount of surgery as well, too. I don't see that happening either, but it was strange
well, you just
things
said
that happened.
earlier on the show that FSU is going to beat Alabama.
I don't. I say that there's an opportunity.
There's an opportunity.
For the other two of those chances. And like I said, there's a chance for my aunt to become my uncle.
Hey,
Just have to have surgery.
They haven't had it down here yet. They're about to have one.
All right, so you're in there. Ross says Bama loses 3 games. He calls his shot.
Iron Bows and Jordan Hare.
Jasper, Dom, call your shot, 2017.
I'm going to go ahead and say that Alabama wins over Florida State 42-14 in the first game, plays them again in the first round of the playoff, and beats them 35-7.
So you have almost 40 points in the 2 different victories of Alabama over FSU. That's impressive. Yes. Okay. No quarterback controversy whatsoever. Is that what you're telling me?
No, none whatsoever.
Like it. 855-242-PAUL. That's 855-242-7285. You're calling your shot, Valdosta. Georgia
Bulldogs beat the stripes off the Tigers of Auburn. Meow.
Give me a score. Give me a score after your meow.
34-10.
Give me the score with the meow voice. Come on, bring it.
34-10. Meow.
There you go. Hey, what is the final bonus question for you, Don? Call your shot. Georgia over Notre Dame. That's happening. That's not even. Listen, that's embarrassing. But what's the final score?
That right there is looking like 38-12.
38-12. I get it. 2 blocked extra points. I love it, Don. Meow. Charleston, South Carolina. Terry, call your shot for 2017.
University of South Carolina wins the East, beats Georgia by 3, and beats Clemson by 10.
Woo! How you think Will Muschamp would love that? You think he might get fired up for that?
He's going to happen, brother. Count on it.
Terry in Charleston, South Carolina, my favorite city in the United States. Enjoy it. Dothan, Alabama. Brian, welcome into Paul Finebaum Show with Peter Burns. Call your shot for 2017 football season.
Okay, my 2017 shot will be that Alabama loses their first game against FSU, and then they will lose again against Auburn. Auburn and Georgia will be in the SEC championship, and there will be no SEC team in the playoff this year because the SEC will have a really down year.
Brian, I'll tell you what you described is exactly what I said yesterday as a nightmare scenario potentially for the SEC, is that you would have a Bama losing to Florida State, an Auburn team who has a very tough schedule, ends up beating Bama, and then you have a Georgia team. Then let's say you got a 2-loss Auburn team, and they go ahead and end up defeating an East team that may have a shot where that only has 1 loss. That could be tough to get into the college football playoff that way.
Yes, it will. I actually have Georgia taking 2 losses, 1 to Florida and 1 to South Carolina.
There you go. Gift with purchase. Thank you. Panama City, we go. James, call your shot, 2017. John Hayes, are you getting tired writing these down?
I'm a machine over
You are a machine. That's unbelievable. Panama City, what's happening, James?
Hey, how's it going? He was close with the Florida stuff, but I'm a Kentucky fan. I'm calling my shot. They're going to beat the longest losing streak in college football this year by beating the Florida Gators, winning the SEC East, and losing to Alabama, and then having a top 10 recruiting class because we won the SEC.
Eat 'em up, Cats, baby. I don't know if you're related to Mark Stoops, but he loves it. All right, James, Panama City calls his shot. Louisville, Kentucky. Chris, call your shot.
Well, that guy's wrong. Louisville 11-1. We beat Clemson 31-17. Lamar has a better year than last year, but finished the second in the Heisman this year.
There you go. Chris is in here. One more last one. Meridian, Mississippi. Jay, call your shot.
Hey, what's going on, man? Roll Tide roll.
I'm thinking I know where your shot's coming from.
Hey, look here. They call them War Eagle, but after they play them this year, they're going to be called War Buzzards.
All right. Hey. Give me your Alabama LSU prediction.
Alabama LSU prediction. It's going to be 32-7. And Alabama's going to take that elephant trunk and smack that little old kitty cat around down there out of Baton Rouge. And Ed Ogeron going to be drinking about 12 packs of Red Bull after the game.
I think he's got a Monster deal now. No, that's Dana Holgerson out of West Virginia. I think he had to go from Red Bull to Monster. I like it.
Yeah, we lost to to the Crimson Tide, so I got to get run out of town. Roll Tide.
Jay and Meridian, great stuff. We got one more segment left. It's Peter Burns in for Paul Finebaum. 855-242-PAUL. You got a little bit more. You got a little bit more space left on that piece of paper, John Hayes.
Not much.
We'll do rapid fire. One more segment here. Peter Burns in for Paul Finebaum.
And answer that. I can't answer that.
Welcome back to the Paul Finebaum Show. Peter Burns finishing strong. Rapid fire, calling your shot for 2017. At Peter Burns ESPN is where you find me on Twitter. John Hayes, it's your birthday, so real quick, what's your favorite calling your shot for 2017 so far?
I'm going to give you two. Justin, Nebraska says the Cornhuskers beat Wisconsin and Ohio State in back-to-back weeks in Lincoln.
I like it.
And CJ in Washington says Bama beats Ole Miss 42-6 and goes undefeated.
Basically, Bama just taking out the frustration of the last 2 years. All right, rapid fire. Squirrel, talk to me. What do you got for 2017? Call your shot.
I predict Jim from Tuscaloosa will hump Paul Finebaum's leg 48 times during the 2017 season.
All right, so down from last year. Okay, but still 48 times is impressive. All right, I got it. Murfreesboro, Tennessee. Lisa, call your shot.
Tennessee beats Alabama in Tuscaloosa and starts a streak like the 7-year streak we had several years ago.
All right, Lisa, give me the score. You're calling your shot. Tennessee beats Alabama. What is the final score of that game?
24-21.
A close one. There he goes. Lisa in Tennessee is in here. Ozark, Alabama. Call your shot, Dan.
All right. Auburn goes to Death Valley and beats the purple and orange Tigers 21-17.
Whoa, Dan. Say it right here on the show. Auburn goes to the fake Death Valley and beats Clemson. Make sure you say it right.
All right, it is the fake Death Valley.
Thank you, sir.
Clemson 21-17. Then gets a hold of the around the bowl and down the hole Alabama in Auburn, and they win 21-17 in that one also. And we are not called War Eagles. We are called Tigers. War Eagle is our battle cry. War Eagle, Auburn Tigers.
There you go. Dano is in here. Let's go back to Alabama. AJ, call your shot right here, right now.
I got Penn State beating Michigan and Ohio State, winning the Big Ten 2 years in a row and getting in the playoffs.
Preach, brother.
There you go. You knew I had to get this call in for John Hayes, who's the birthday boy, AJ. You knew that was going to get on here.
Oh, happy birthday, John.
Thank you.
Very impressive. All right. I like anything that includes Michigan losing, I'm a fan of. Talladega, Alabama. Bobby, let's go.
What's going on?
He ain't racing, it ain't rubbing, or whatever the hell it is. Talk to me, Bobby.
All right. Kentucky will win more ball games this year than Auburn will.
Wow. You know what? I had somebody at Media Days tell me the same exact thing, and I started looking at him like, wait a minute. I don't know. I can't. That will be I will not say the name because I didn't want to go on the record on it. But somebody there are a lot of people that like what Kentucky is bringing in, and I'm upset that Boom, I believe it was Boom Williams that tried to go pro and he didn't get drafted because Boom could have still been on that team and they could have had Benny Snell. That would have been a hell of a 1-2 punch for Stoops down up in Lexington.
Yeah. Well, I got one more thing actually two more things to say. Y'all were talking the other day about Paul Finebaum being the male teacher in South Park.
Yes, sir.
Does that make, I can't say her name from the show, but does that make Millie the female teacher?
I don't know. I haven't watched that much South Park. I don't remember. I don't remember if there's a. I know who you're talking about. Millie. Okay. Listen, Millie is legendary status after yesterday for staying on hold for 3 hours and 30 minutes, so she can say whatever she wants. Last one of the day, Chad. Call your shot.
Since everybody's already covered Alabama and Auburn, I do feel like Auburn is going to get national recognition when it comes to Clemson. And beating them. But outside of that, I'm going to go with the UAB Blazers. First year back.
Wow.
I feel like they've got a really good coaching staff, and I think that they actually went out their division and take that one home. And they got a lot of supporters, and I think that's going to help with momentum moving forward. And So go Blazers, man.
Hell, that'd be awesome to see, to get them back in there. I enjoy it. I know that people are excited about it. I know they showed up their bus at SEC Media Day saying, hey, while you guys are here, come check out the facility. I think that's cool. I like guerrilla marketing. Hey, we've had fun with you today. Make sure you get ready to download the podcast Campus Conversation. It's myself, Peter Burns, Ryan McGee, a bunch of us. It's the old championship drive. So Campus Conversation will move on tomorrow. John Hayes, a happy, safe birthday for you. I hope you enjoy the night.
Thank you very much. And for the Finebaum fan, thank you very much for all you wishing me birthday on the show.
You're gonna have
birthday on the show and on Twitter as well.
You're going to have a great one at Chuck E. Cheese. Peter Burns in for Paul Finebaum. We'll be back tomorrow.